You're listening to 17 Carat K-Pop, the podcast that's a little bit of everything with a K-pop twist. From pop culture critiques to the history of K-pop to interviews with people in the K-pop industry and K-pop artists themselves, to concert and album reviews, to a deep dive into the discographies of different K-pop artists, to K-pop news updates, to stories about the music industry more broadly. This show tries to cover everything about K-pop and K-pop as it applies to the larger music and concert scenes. Visit 17caratkpop.weebly.com for more information about the show. That's 17caratkpop.weebly.com. Hello everybody, and welcome back to 17 Carat K-Pop. In this new episode of Stay Tuned, where I cover stories about the music industry more broadly, not just K-pop related news, we've got to talk about the state of live music, future plans as we're starting to get into a vaccinated world, a post-COVID world, the TikTok rival apps that are sprouting up, lots of developments just in the music industry to talk about. Quick PSA before I get to that though, another new interview has just dropped. So if you go to the 17 Carat K-Pop website, click on episodes and then interviews in the drop-down menu, and you will see the latest updated collection of interviews I've done. So you can see my latest with Yumin, with Park Bench Club. I've totally remodeled that interview page on the site. So easier to access both audio and print interviews. And the other one that just dropped the other day that I'm so excited about is my Q&A with J-pop star Unknown Kun, K-U-N. That is his stage name, and he talked to me about his creative process and his new song that I was praising on the Best of March recap. So lots to talk about there, and an interesting tease about what to expect from his future in the music industry. So check out that interview as well as my other newer ones, and stay tuned for more very soon, which is all I will say for now. Now, without further ado, topic 1 out of 4 today is the state of live music overall. Everyone who plays any role in making a concert tour happen, what has life been like for them this year? Rough to say the least. Some Live Nation employees received salary cuts last year that were as steep as 60%. 60%. And Live Nation in general cut their spending $950 million. From its original projected amount before everything went crazy in 2020. The revenue Live Nation had was 1/10 of what it was in Q4 of 2019. Of course, we've got to think about the venues themselves, who had the chance to finally apply for some aid from the US government. The website crashed very quickly afterwards. $16 billion with a B dollars in aid was opened up to them, but the problem with how this worked is that all venues were given access to the $16 billion aid package the U.S. government passed at the same time on the same day. So you didn't have just every concert venue who wanted this money to help them survive. You also had museums, movie theaters, all of those different kinds of entertainment venues from all across the country were given access to apply for this money at the exact same time. There was a little bit of a tiered system when it came to financial need affecting when you could access the money, but for the most part, it was first come, first serve, and it was chaos. They would be no matter what after a year without concerts, but it was especially just tensions were high as people were scrambling to get this money because they'd waited 102 days between the time this aid was approved by Congress and actually getting to apply for it. So it's definitely just been a very massive mental stressor and financial stressor, of course, on anyone associated with keeping a venue alive. So now what? What do they do now? How do they get out of this hole and bounce back better than ever? Slowly but surely in the works for that. After all, consumer sentiment seems to be still very high for going to live shows. The UK has been announcing their lineups for summer 2021 festivals, and tickets for those festivals have sold out right away. So the rollout of certain summer festivals is going on as if there was no pandemic. It's just a normal year. A lot of in-person events are getting pushed back to fall, hoping that there's still time to save the season back then. Think about things like Christmas tree sellers, or Easter bunny themed gift sellers, or, Easter hams, Christmas hams, sellers for very, very holiday specific or season specific items. They make so much money in December, or 1/4 of the year, that it makes up for the relatively low sales that they get for the whole rest of the year. So it actually isn't as far-fetched as it might sound at first to think about how concert venues may have a 2021 as great as their 2019's revenue-wise, and they really can put a lot of stock in the fall. I'm very cautiously optimistic that that is enough time for them to turn things around, and this will not be another lost year for them. And of course, the aid package doesn't hurt either. California is actually planning to bring indoor concerts back by June 15th. Of course, there are a lot of people who are skeptical if that will actually happen, thinking that the date will probably be pushed back or modified based on how the next few months unravel, but that's the tentative plan, and the plan is then, if you want to go to a live show in California after June 15th, you can if you show proof of COVID vaccination or you get COVID tested there. The CEO of Live Nation recently said that he thinks large-scale concerts, arenas, stadiums, etc., could be back by midsummer, anywhere from 70 to 100% capacity. So he's envisioning maybe an arena-sized show by my birthday, basically, midsummer. So for my fellow live music enthusiasts, there is light at the end of this tunnel, and it could be sooner than we think. Meanwhile, life is already sort of back to normal for live music enthusiasts in some countries. Israel has been having a lot of success with their vaccine rollout. It has not exactly been equitable, but I won't get into that today on the show. But the point being that they have now enough of a vaccinated population that they're not at herd immunity, but almost, it feels like, compared to at least the USA. In Israel right now, all you have to do to go see a live concert, party like it's 2019 again, all you need to do for that is download the Green Pass app. Then you can say, hey, here's the app, I have proof that I've been vaccinated, and then you get to enter the fully vaccinated concert venue. The first large-scale post-COVID concert in Israel sold out within 15 minutes. It was only for 500 people, so they were really spread out in this massive open-air stadium, and everyone had to wear masks. But as long as you showed vaccine proof, you were allowed in. So this summer, maybe it'll look a little different if you go to these venues for shows, but it truly could happen this summer. And here's another reason why I'm optimistic about that. If you recall from previous episodes of Stay Tuned, I talked about how it's not so simple as to say, well, why don't you just open up this show to limited capacity audiences and just spread out more and just have a normal touring season, but with less viewers at each show? Isn't that better than making no money? It's not as good as having 100% capacity, but aren't those ticket sales still worth it? And I talked about previously on the show, well, actually no, because think about all the money that goes into the crew, the people who work at the venue, and all the production costs. There are a lot of variables to think about that make that equation not so simple. What changes the equation entirely? Entering these warmer months doesn't just help because there's more space to spread out and keep your distance and all that, but outdoor shows also inherently have more logistical situations that make it ideal actually right now. You can't do certain high production shows at outdoor venues the same way that you could when you're equipped to do so in an indoor venue. Some outdoor stages are just differently structured. And in general, consumers, I think, are a lot more okay with their show not being so high budget, special effects filled, if it is outdoors. It's just a totally different festival vibe that comes from an outdoor show. That feel for live music, I just think that experience, it requires being extra less than it does when you're at an indoor venue. The crowd doesn't need as much to be dazzled when it's during this big outdoor event. That's been my experience. The vibe is just very different. Plus, I think consumer sentiment is just better for outdoor shows right now because study after study continues to show how truly drastic the difference is between your transmission risk of COVID indoors versus outdoors. And outdoors is so much safer. So I think just logistically and in terms of what the people want and what we can offer now that there are warmer months and room to spread out outdoors, all of that mixed together, plus people getting more and more confident as the months go on and more people get vaccinated, the more comfortable people feel just going back out in public again and going to events like live music events. That motivation, plus the ability to get back out there, I do think will hopefully help these venues manage to save the season. When it comes to an actual in-person K-Con, I think New York's is for sure just going to be a virtual thing this year, but I honestly would still not rule out entirely K-Con LA happening in person to some extent. With distancing and masks and not the same amount of activity, but I could picture them having some in-person fall event. As for full-fledged K-pop concert tours in the USA, my guess is we have to wait for 2022 for that stuff to get started again. No matter what the precautions are that we take, flying the members and crew and everything, I just don't think they'll think it's worth the risk, and I don't want them to risk it either. So BTS Map of the Soul tour is especially what I'm thinking about and missing, but we just have to be patient with that, and we know it'll be worth the wait, so that should help us be patient a little bit, because that cast and crew that put together BTS shows is from every country, and so I know they won't want to tour until the whole world is, or at least a huge chunk of the world is fully vaccinated. So, bottom line, stay hopeful, but stay patient. In the meantime, there are more ways to continue to just enjoy virtual online performances, which brings me to my next topic. There is a TikTok film festival coming, going to involve a judging panel that features Takashi Miike, who is a Japanese director. This is a partnership with Toho, the Japanese film studio. It's going to show videos that can be anywhere from 15 seconds to 10 minutes long. The submission period closes at the end of May, and then 10 finalists will be chosen to have their videos live streamed during this summer event. Out of those 10, the judges will pick a winner, and fans can vote for and like and view these TikTok videos to pick their favorites as well. So there will be two winners. One is the judges' pick and one is the voted one based on views and likes. There's an interesting disparity because the judges' winner is going to get approximately $36,500 for what they call production support for their next TikTok film. The person who wins the fan-voted award gets not $36,500, but $1,740. Very curious what led them to that discrepancy. Miike said in a statement about his participation, quote, "This has got to be the ultimate battlefield in the next generation of creators. They've got no option but to participate. Let's have some fun and find a new tomorrow," unquote. In more virtual news, let's talk more about what Miyavi has been up to. I've talked about one of my favorite Japanese artists, Miyavi, on the show before, here and there, but a little bit more about him here. He is an LA-based artist, but he's known around the world. He's done 8 world tours throughout his career so far, performed in over 30 countries. He's known as the samurai guitarist, popularizing a new technique, and you can hear that in his music. He is continuing to be innovative and a trendsetter with his partnership with Amazon Music. His latest with them is called Miyavi Virtual Level 5.0 Synthesis. It's basically a virtual reality concert. This technology used to make a 3D virtual concert of sorts, reenacting and bringing more life to his old concert clips, is thanks to Unreal Engine, as well as Epic Games, who makes Fortnite. What basically happens is Miyavi works with a green screen, and the production team, while quarantining in different parts of the world, Italy, the USA, and Japan, together work collectively virtually to post-produce. So not only the collaborative aspect is impressive to me, but also just the fact that Miyavi is acting and putting on his stage persona like he always does, even though all of the energy he has to work off of is just a green screen. But he's great at acting, I guess. That's the best summary I can give of it, and I will link to more information, more of a deep dive into how he pulled off a virtual event of this kind, how he turned himself into a sort of 3D avatar for an event with that quarantined production team around the world on my weekly newsletter. So I also include a trailer for this event there too. But with events like his, as cool as they are, of course they sound really hard and frustrating to pull off. Will they stick around, or are we just going to go back to fully live shows? When it comes to people, economists, or management, or production staff, there are a lot of different takes on if this trend will stick. I honestly hope so and think it will, but not to the extent people might think. So I'm not one of the people who thinks, yes, virtual shows are the future no matter what, or no, people will get so sick of them. I think there's a lot of middle ground there, and what I think people will turn towards when they can is a hybrid model. Live Nation just partnered with Veeps, which is a live stream company, and they're providing live streaming abilities through this partnership to 60 different concert venues across the USA. Meaning that at 60 venues across the USA, you can both physically attend a show and people can be watching the same show virtually at the same time. On that list of 60 venues, side note, is the Chicago House of Blues, and we love to see it. So that's an indicator that implementing this live stream technology into just a normalized part of concert preparation is a thing that could become more and more common through partnerships with established ticket sites like Live Nation. I also think and hope this trend sticks because, first of all, it is cheaper and more environmentally friendly for shows to be virtual. Of course, the hybrid model is not the same in that sense, but it's still cheaper because fans can just access from home if they don't have a ride. It's just more convenient, and for the artists, for everyone really, because as much as it can bring difficulties, it's actually kind of cool that you can be working on the same show in Italy as someone is from Japan in Miyavi's case, or you can tune into a BTS show while you're like me living in the USA. As music gets more globalized and fan bases get more globalized, to give fans options to connect while watching the same event at the same time, I think should be viewed as increasingly important and cool. To just see all the other virtual fans, just feel that sense of a global network you're embraced in. It's also, I think, a cool expansion of what we view as normal or possible even for artistic expression. Because imagine the possibilities if artists don't just try to reinvent the wheel of a live singing and dancing, but actually then totally make game-changing moves like work with avatars, work with Fortnite technology, work with virtual worlds, work with bringing whole new dimensions and levels to a performance that we can't even imagine. It really opens so many crazy doors, taps into a lot of potential for creative solutions to problems regarding budget, environmental impact, things like that people can not only transform but enhance what live music means and is truly all about, and highlight the benefits of certain types of live music. Story number 3. In certain countries where TikTok has been scrutinized for what is considered an immoral nature or whatever, other apps have tried to step into those shoes. Like Kuaishou, which basically mixes TikTok and Amazon. Kuaishou mixes short-form videos with e-commerce. The number of e-commerce orders ordered through Kuaishou has reached 500 million a month. 500 million a month back in August of 2020. So now that we're re-entering social scenes and exiting lockdown more and more, since August 2020, imagine the amount of commerce orders being done through Kuaishou now. What's also really cool about this app is that it allows you to tip creatives. So instead of just watching your TikToker's content that makes your day and puts a smile on your face, but that's it, you get to actually thank them for it. For those who maybe don't want to pay for merch or other things they think are overpriced or just can't afford, you can still financially compensate them for making your day a little better and thanking them. And you can make sure they still have the ability to create content by maybe not buying merch, but the cheaper option of giving them a tip. So that is a possibility that may allow this app to stay long-term appealing to creators. The main holdout, though, for me saying this will be the next big thing is that it is a Chinese company, and the Chinese tech sector has been looked at very critically the past year. For example, last year, the USA almost banned TikTok out of privacy concerns. that were hotly contested, where an app developed, has more implications than just, I think this is a cool idea that will take off. There are a lot of socio-political issues as well to get into. So, all to say that this is an app that is not necessarily the next big thing, but is also worth putting on your radar as a potential idea for an app that another creator in another country might swoop in and decide to use, because that's the nature of the tech industry. So keep your eyes out on that kind of shopping online mixed with TikTok. Story number 4. We talked last week about SM Entertainment and Big Hit Entertainment going through some big changes. Now let's talk about YG and JYP Entertainment, who are also changing things up. JYP has entered a new partnership with Tencent Music Entertainment, which allows for JYP Entertainment artists to officially be guaranteed placement on Chinese streaming platforms, and down the road, the goal is that this partnership will allow their stars to promote more outside of Korea. So if you thought Twice was the biggest thing in Japan, wait till you see what happens when they get more chances for Chinese promo. So JYP is really trying to expand their reach in Asia through this. Meanwhile, Tencent is also launching a record label in China, a new one with Warner Music, which just further indicates this globalization of the music industry. Lastly, there has been a major change in terms of stock ownership in YG Entertainment. Fenying Business Consulting just got rid of all their shares in YG Entertainment. All 953,947 of them. And this follows what happened a few months ago when Maoyan divested its $19.5 million investment in YG. So this wasn't exactly out of the blue, and due to recent years of YG Entertainment issues in the media that have come to light, the relationship YG has had with partners has not been smooth sailing the past few years. There are also, again, political contexts here, just inherently with the deployment of that missile system to South Korea in 2017 that led to this hesitancy for more globalized partnerships. And then, of course, Tencent is the second largest shareholder in Maoyan. Tencent is predicted to be the next major company to actually divest from YG, and if Tencent follows Maoyan's lead and divests from YG too, that means that first of all, YG is losing a lot of ticket partnerships, ticket company sponsors here, and second of all, it means that JYP is picking up a lot of what YG is losing. That has some interesting implications for the future that I don't want to speculate about too much right now, but nevertheless interesting and worth keeping tabs on. That is all of the news I will get to for today, but stay tuned for the EXO 9-year anniversary special coming your way very, very soon, as well as more interviews and just tons of other content for the show. While I still have your attention, to do your part to help out the grieving family of Dante Wright, who, if you don't know, was killed by police during a traffic stop and leaves behind a 1-year-old son. It's a really tragic and avoidable and just awful circumstance, and if you want to help that grieving family, a good place to start is organizations that support Minnesota locally where he was killed, like reclaimtheblock.org. You could also visit the Center for Economic Inclusion.org, voicesforracialjustice.org, and for more action items, go to justice number 4 Dante Wright, DAUNTE.CARRD.CO. Please do what you can and stay informed. These types of things happen all too often. Thanks for listening to today's show, and I'll talk to you all very soon.